talk of democracy, we mean true representation, and the parliament is the place, and therefore the people must be informed. A program that brings to you expert clarifications and teachings of parliamentary concepts and procedures. Welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
On Parliamentary Guide, we'll teach, we explain, we clarify parliamentary concepts and terms.
Not violence of run oversight over the executive. Not violence of run oversight over the executive.
Many thanks for joining us on the program Parliamentary Guide, the program that brings you up to speed with parliamentary processes, concepts, and issues. I am Mitaire Ikben. On the program today, we are focusing on the power sector, which has been on the eye of the storm. And we have, as our parliamentary guide today, Honorable Victor Nwokolo, who is the member representing Ika Northeast and Ika South Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives. He is also the chairman, House Committee on Power. Honorable Victor Nwokolo, many thanks for coming on Parliamentary Guide. Let's look at the power sector, which, of course, has been in the eye of the storm, and especially with regards to the recent tariff increase and all the issues arising from whether you're in band A or B and all of that. How would you say, let's look at the legal framework of the sector. How would you say the laws governing the sector has enhanced or impeded the efficiency of the power sector?
Okay, thank you very much for your interest in the power sector, and of course for re-echoing what has been in the domain of every Nigerian. No doubt that in the last 3 weeks, 1 month, 5 weeks, it's been on here and there. In fact, that led to the meeting of my committee meeting, which was held on the 18th of April. Due to the importance attached to these issues, ranging from tariff increase to band and to the program we did last week, multi-tier system transiting from a single tier to a multi-tier, my committee had a meeting. They were called back from the break to brainstorm to know the way forward. In that meeting were the Ministry of Power, where the minister wasn't able to come, not due to report of his, because of what happened where he was at that time. To travel back became a problem. But the ministry was ably represented by the permanent secretary and the directors. We had NEC also in the meeting, the NEC chairman, and all the commissioners, they were there. And the discourse, they were also in that meeting. We had over 43 members in attendance. In that meeting, we were looking at the issue of the tariff, the issue of this band, and all that. And of course, civil societies were there. And in that meeting, a lot of things was brought to bear. As far as the Electricity Act is concerned, it is the responsibility of National Electricity, NEC. They are responsible for the regulation of electricity in Nigeria. And the Electricity Act also gives them power to fix the tariff. So looking at the content of the law, NEC actually complied with the law. Complied with the law that they have the function to fix tariff, and which they did. It's a different ballgame, whether what they did is morally right, whether what they did is timely, whether what they did is also exigent that's the timely nature of it. So, but if it is for them, they have the responsibility to do. Minister of Power or the minister was invited because it is the ministry that oversees NEC. But it is NEC that actually did it. Of course, in that meeting, members were neither here or there, because before the meeting, nobody formed opinion on what you want to do. You had some members, if you were among those pressmen who were there, who were arguing that this is not the right time for the tariff to be increased. And some members also were of the view that, of course, the tariff must be increased. For me, there are three things that comes to bear. Is it the right time for the tariff to be increased? If it, again, is it, what proportion should the tariff be increased with? Even if we have to increase the tariff, is it the same proportion? Again, it goes back to issues that have been, over the years, we have not been able to overcome the power sector. The issue of lack of funding. Of course, which you and I know, the rate of dollar today is a different thing. Virtually all the inputs, everything they use in the power sector, is all of them have dollar components. Being that as it may, I know that for now, though the government is doing what they can, but the price of dollar have not been stable. Even if it's not been stable, in the last 1 year or the last 2 years, the fluctuation is high. It's definitely going to affect the operational costs. That is one. Two, the power sector is a sector that is not bankable. The banks are not willing to put their money there because those who bought off the stake, those that who 10 years ago bought from BP don't have the required capital to inject into the system. One is tempted to say that they didn't have the initial capital required to be injected into the economy. We say that without fear of contradiction is that the banks have taken over so many discos, meaning that they borrow the money from the bank to buy off the discos, and they don't have the capital that's required to be injected into it. Well, you blame them, you also blame the government, because the government also played a role. Where at the time they were buying, it was agreed that government will pay off their liabilities. Bills, those ones, most government departments did not pay, government did not pay their bills. Their standing debt they were owing them, they didn't pay them. But frankly speaking, those who bought the discos were not financially capable. And of course, if you're a bank, if you are borrowing money to any investor, you must know, how do I recover my money? And with the tariffs that they are collecting, of course, the bank says it's not attractive for them to borrow that kind of money that they need. And having looked at it, that's why next said they should increase the tariff. And there's another problem associated with the price increase, which introduced a new element, the issue of bands, band A, band B, band C, band whatever. And Nigerians ask, why will you discriminate? All of us were getting the power, we're getting the current, it's being supplied from discos, from the same network. Why the differential bands? Some say, oh, you want to favor the big men in society, you want to favor the allies, you want to favor those who have the means to pay. But from Sanusi's, the next chairman's explanation, he said that there's no discrimination on what they have done, but it is due to available facility in each locations that determines which one is band A and which one is band B. That was what he said in that sense. However it is, even the band A people, are they getting the 20 hours? Are they actually getting the 20 hours? So
the basis for the classification is that those on band A will be having light up to 20
hours in a day. And I don't know, I don't live in the villa. Even in National Assembly here, we don't get we don't get 20 hours in a day. If National Assembly that is very close to the villa don't have 20 hours in a day, then who is getting the 20 hours in a day? So many Nigerians are of the view that before the price increase, the tariff increase, that the services ought to be improved. If you have not improved the services, then what are you increasing the tariff for? And people are also saying that even if you have to increase the tariff, what proportion are you increasing the tariff? Of course, let me be fair to you. The discourse argument or next argument is that even the subsidy that is claimed to be given, they are not available as of when due. Because the subsidy is not available as of when due, that puts the operation of the discourse at a terrible situation, at a situation where they need money, the source for money at bank rates, and which they are not able to continue with. So these are the views. Who are in engagement, NEC, in fairness to them, have been trying to organize some engagements here and there. And 2 weeks ago, we were in Lagos, where they had a large stakeholders meeting. In that stakeholders meeting, commissioners of energy, or commissioners of power, or some say commissioners of renewable energy, some say commissioners of power, some say from states, they were all represented there. And they made their own positions clear. So the consultations will continue, according to what NEC said. Beyond NEC, even the committee who had engagement last week, where we also agreed to interface with the state commissioners to know more where they think there should be improvement in the art, even if they are of the opinion that we should go ahead with the Electricity Act as it is, operate it for some time before bringing amendments. That is the view of those state commissioners, because in that engagement, the state commissioners, they were represented by 6 commissioners. The body of state commissioners of energy stroke power, they were represented by 6 commissioners. And in the program we did last week at Freezer Sus, the Enugu, Taraba, Benue, and I represented Lagos. They were also there, where these things are being argued.
Okay, talking about the states, the Electricity Act, as signed into law by President Tinubu in February this year, makes provision for decentralization of the power sector to enable states to have the power to perhaps generate their own electricity and have their own electricity regulatory boards and authorities. How feasible is this aspect of the law, and how will it enhance that challenge of having adequate power generated before we even talk of transmission and distribution?
Well, it depends on who have the finance, I must say, because
so we're back to the issue of finance.
Well, yes, with due respect to states, the power sector is capital intensive. The power sector is not garbage in, garbage out. It is not where you invest today, tomorrow you think start declaring dividend. It's not. So by the time you find states say they are going into it, I didn't see their feasibility studies. So I will not sit here and condemn it, but a lot of capital is truly required to do it. But you may not know who will be able to get investor, because it depends on who have access to reputable investor, who has the fund to invest in the place. That is the person that actually, but for me, there are a lot of things that have been thrown up. There are some states where presently one disco covers about 3 or 4 states. If you look at Jos, for example, you look at Bini Disco. You look at Enugu. You look at Ibadan. They cut across states. Even in Lagos, Ikeja cuts across Lagos and part of Ogun. Eko cuts across Lagos and part of Ogun too. So in this dialogue we had, that's why, and even in the one NEC also had in Lagos, all of, they are of the view that states can come together and see whether it's possible to partner in one particular place so that there won't be frictions that is there.
Okay, so what you are recommending is, because the power sector is capital intensive, there could be some collaboration.
Of course, certainly yes.
For contiguous states, maybe states that are close to each other. Is it for power generation and distribution purposes?
Well, for all, because the issue of particularly distribution, I just gave you an example like Bini Disco. I also mentioned Ibadan. I mentioned Enugu. Enugu is the disco servicing virtually all the states in Southeast. I mentioned to you these states that what was saying that Enugu, for example, may not need to stand alone. They may need to collaborate with Anambra. Even Benin, Edo State may need to collaborate with Delta and Ondo State, depending on what they want. If not, there's likely to be interruptions, because what they have now is already aligned to one place. But the issue of generation, new people may come in and set up a new generation plant, and that the generation will be domiciled in a particular state. The issue of generation is easier to handle than the issue of discos, because discos, they are going to use the existing network. It will not be too easy setting up new networks immediately.
Okay, so with what you are proposing, what do you think or envisage will be the fate of the discos and gencos as presently constituted? Most of them came on board as a result of the 2005 Act, which was repealed by the existing Act.
Yes. These are the challenges. Whereas if you look at the name of our talk, it's a confronting. As we move from single tier to multi-tier. For me, I don't think the gencos will have much problem. Where I think more of the problem is the discos, where private investors already have 60%. Now, if you are asking them, the states are coming in, meaning that they need to be strong discussions between the owners of the discos that have 60%, because that of 40%, of course, the federal government have said through the minister that it's going to be, the 40% stake is going to be pushed into the market for people to buy. Of course, it appears the federal government wants to be providing enabling environment for the power sector and gradually withdraw from it.
Okay.
So for me, of course, there will be problems. Because when the people were buying it, it was a different terrain. Now it is different. But let me say something. The art has brought a lot of benefits. I must say, the art has brought a lot of benefits.
Okay, maybe we'll just pause you at this time. You're still watching the program Parliamentary Guide, and we have been focusing on the power sector. At this point in time, we take a short break. Do join us again.
Are you looking for a short channel to make your business, goods and services go viral? Look no further, as NTA Parliament is your sure channel. Take advantage of our wider reach and advertise your products and services on NTA Parliament DSTV channel 370, GoTV channel 126, StarTimes channel 306, and Free TV channel 706. For more inquiries, contact the Marketing Department, NTA Parliament, NTA Headquarters Area 11 Garki Abuja, or call these numbers 080-383-40464 or 080-770-78055. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
Many thanks for staying with us. You are still watching the program Parliamentary Guide, and we have been discussing with Honorable Victor Nwokolo, who is the Chairman, House Committee on Power. Honorable, before we went on that break, you were just about to hammer on the benefits of the Electricity Act as signed into law by President Tinubu this year. Will you
amendment, Tinubu?
Yes, the Electricity Act Amendment Bill signed into law this year. So will you just throw more light on that?
The benefit is that one of the major benefits is that the Electricity Act as of today gives opportunity for a lot of people to come in, unlike when it was restricted. Now, if you have gone through the act, it says generation, transmission, and discourse. And states can even go into renewable energy within their jurisdictions, meaning that the states can license private investors, can license anybody. It's not entirely where you have to wait for TCN in Abuja before you can get something, or waiting for the Genco that is far off. That states that actually need, if you look at what we have in Aba now with geometric, I'm sure that you are aware that the power situation in Aba have increased 100%, have improved 100%. The small-scale factories, they now work, and they are all working well. And the people are happy. What has happened there is that it is this enabling act, even if the geometric have been on it over the years. But what reinforced or what made him to move faster than what people expected, even despite all the hurdles here and there, is that it has been thrown open. They have their own power systems. They have their everything that they deal with the people directly. So because it has opened up from a lot of many more people to enter into the sector, it has also helped us to, it's no longer restricted. The monopoly is gone. If there's anything President Tinubu have been able to do, throwing up the sector to private investors. And of course, you know that anything you have private investors, it's better handled than when it is only government. And though the government will give the enabling environment.
Okay, and considering that the sector is capital intensive, which you have emphasized in the course of this program, what do you think states can do to rally funds, to pool funds, to be able to enhance the efficiency of the power sector?
First of all, it depends on the priority. State governments it depends on what is their priority. What is the priority of Abia State may not be the priority of Yobe State. What is the priority of Kebbi may not be the priority of Kwara. A state governor sits back to say, okay, how many industrialists do I have? How many hospitals do I have? So which area do I go? And for me, if you ask me, it's a matter of whether I will advise that states, once they prioritize it, and investors will, and give tax-free holidays to investors that will come. If state government is okay, come and set up a generation company. In the first 10 years, you are not going to pay tax. When you say you are not going to pay tax, and most of them know that they have the technology that within 3-4 years, I will go into operation, I'm sure that private investors will go into it. Also, okay, we are giving you so and so land, and we are also issuing you a CFO for 99 years. Don't pay for the land. Everything is free. And ground rent, don't pay for another 20 years until you have broken it, you have found your level, you have gone out of gestation period. I'm sure it's a matter of making it a priority. And what incentives are you giving to the private sector people you are bringing in? Once there are incentives there, of course, they'll cash on incentives and take on it headlong. And of course, it will improve the fortunes of the people. If you look at Aba, for example, today, you ask people, the price of lands have changed, have increased. Why overnight the price of lands are? Because most Easterners are now moving to Aba because there is power there to go and establish their factories. So I will advise states to make issue of power priority and consider what incentives do I give by way of tax holiday, by way of enabling environments. Because if they give proper tax holidays to some of the states, say for first 10 years, first 5 years, a lot of investors will go there.
Okay. Beyond all the talk about funding and the capabilities of the DISCOs and the GENCOs in terms of transmission and distribution, Nigerians want to have power. Nigerians are even ready to pay for power. So what do you think is the way forward in the sector as presently constituted, especially with the ongoing debates about the electricity tariff increase? What is the way forward?
Well, the House will be reconvened tomorrow. The way forward is difficult for me to settle here because there's no doubt we will reconvene tomorrow. It's because it's a burning issue. It must come up on the floor of the House. And it is by the resolution of the House before we say this is the way forward. But let me say something very clearly, because I believe that government, like this year, should give more, though this year, better than last year. I think the government have put in more money than what it was last year. Certainly, yes. So the only advice you give to government is the areas which to concentrate. Why don't which areas does government remove their hands and to see where they concentrate in the power sector? I don't want to preempt the resolutions of what we did last week because we still have to meet to look at it. But for me, what the government need to do is to go on investment drive. That's at federal government. Go on investment drive and see how do they straighten neck. Because if whoever transited into multi-tier system, there will be one or two legal issues coming up on, particularly where states are to come up with their own regulatory bodies. And if you look at the act, the state can issue as many licenses as they wish to give. There's no limit, so that the issue of control, governance, should be taken seriously, and the issue of enforcement, so that we speak with one standard. The issue of standard should be taken as priority by the government, because power involves life. Once there's a mishap in the power sector, not only properties will be destroyed, in some situations, lives are wasted. So the government, as we are sitting, should ensure and be strict over the enforcement of standards. And of course, we have nothing there. The government should strengthen nothing the more. A training institution to ensure that the sector is made up of only core professionals, not quacks who will do substandard jobs, and it will lead to mishaps in different places.
Okay, so do we say that the recent tariff increase has come to stay and the classification has come to stay?
Well, I would not say it has come to stay until tomorrow, because I made mention. I asked you a question. I said yes. Even if there's going to be tariff increase, is it the proportion? I said so. Is it the proportion with which it has been done that it should be done? Is it also, is it timely? I also asked, I went further to say that the issue of classification of banks and here and there, if the argument that is based on infrastructures that's existing, why don't you improve on our infrastructures before classifying band A, band B, band C? Because from the reactions you get from people, a lot of estates that have been classified as band A, the classifications, one may be tempted to say it's not properly done. You have 3-4 houses in one feeder pillar, getting current from one source. One house is in band A, the other house is in a different band. So there be something they need to do more property. So to say the tariff will have come to stay, or the reasons that they've advanced, issue of flotation in exchange rate, issue of the poor infrastructures, decay infrastructures. Of course, you know that the infrastructures we have in the power sector they are really old. And for them to change it. But the question is, why don't you change those infrastructures before changing your tariff? Or is it the time? So it's difficult for me to sit here to say, because tomorrow when the House reconvenes, it is the resolution of the House that I'm going to start with. We only hope, but let every Nigerian be ready to sacrifice something. But we need to also change our attitude towards public infrastructures.
A part and parcel of our recent democratic trajectory in the since 1999 till date. What would you say the National Assembly has brought to the table to enhance the leadership question in the country?
Of course, what the National Assembly have brought to the table. The National Assembly, of course, have been playing their role as a body. What are the functions of the National Assembly? To make laws. And in the process of making laws, they also collaborate with the executive more, because I will not, we'll deal more with the executive, we'll relate more with the executive. The other people are standalone. And again, National Assembly have also been cooperating very well with all the executives, whether present or past, because I've never, when executive bills come, of course, if you look at the pace with which 2024 budget was passed, it shows you there is cooperation between National Assembly and the executive. And when they brought ministerial nominations, with the way they were cleared, also shows you that there is collaboration between both arms of government. So National Assembly actually, they are living up to expectation. Though in every human endeavor, there will be one or two lapses here and there, but you give it to them. That when there have been situations where when there are labor unrests, when there are issues with labor, even national security. Last week here, we had the Speaker conveyed a meeting of a burning issue again of state police, because that issue keeps reoccurring in our domain, in the public space. Speaker conveyed a meeting in Abuja Continental, where the matter was discussed. And of course, I'm happy you are in the press corps, and you saw the reactions. A lot of people saying yes, a lot of people saying no. the full outcome is not out because the secretariat need to sit down to compile their reports. So National Assembly taking the bull by the horn shows you that they are living up to expectation with what has happened. And again, the same National Assembly, if you have been listening, you would have heard the Deputy Senate President, Deputy Speaker, talking about constitutional amendments. Both the Deputy Senate President and the Deputy Speaker, they've been talking about it in the very recent times. I don't think there's any of them who has spoken anything short of 2 or 3 times about the amendment. Why? Because they want to live up to expectation at all times to see, okay, where there are lacunas in the law, let us see how we can amend them. We are thanking God and thanking Mr. President, President Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for Electricity Act. But it shows you what National Assembly is doing. If not for the amendment of the electricity, which now remove it from the exclusive list, we won't be talking about multi-tier. That tells you that the National Assembly feels the pulse of the people and use that in doing their work.
All right, we have been speaking with Honorable Victor Nwokolo, who is the Chairman, House Committee on Power, and also the member representing Ika Northeast and Ika South Federal Constituency from Delta State in the House of Representatives. We have focused a lot on the power sector, and you agree with me, it has been quite an insightful conversation. That's where we wrap it up on the program today. We thank you so much for being a part of the program, and do join us again for another episode of the program Parliamentary Guide. Until then, my name is Mitaire Ikben.